XRP news, crucial SEC detail everyone missed in Ripple case settlement, according to At Times Tablet 1 article. Crypto commentator highlights overlooked aspect of SEC Ripple settlement. Crypto commentator All Things XRP has drawn attention to what they describe as a critical but underreported aspect of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's recent settlement with Ripple. In a post shared on X, the analyst argues that the true significance of the settlement is not the $50 million penalty imposed on Ripple, but rather the SEC's formal acknowledgement that it is seeking to reform its regulatory framework for the digital asset industry. Quoting directly from the SEC's official statement, the post highlights the Commission's language that the resolution rests on its judgment that such resolution will facilitate the Commission's ongoing efforts to reform and renew its regulatory approach to the crypto industry. According to All Things XRP, this kind of language is not typical in SEC settlements and marks a meaningful departure from past enforcement narratives. Language marks departure from previous SEC stance. The commentator asserts that the SEC is not framing the settlement as a decisive legal victory. Instead, they interpret the Commission's language as an indication that it recognizes flaws or limitations in its existing regulatory strategy. This shift in tone is especially notable given the SEC's previous pattern of what industry participants have termed regulation by enforcement, where the agency pursued legal actions without providing formal rules or guidelines for the sector. According to the post, the emphasis should not be on the monetary penalty paid by Ripple, but rather on what the SEC's language implies about future regulatory oversight. The tweet states that the regulatory body is signaling a regulatory reset, suggesting this could lead to more defined rules, greater collaboration with crypto firms, and a potential shift away from the combative posture that many believe has stifled innovation in the space. XRP positioned amid regulatory evolution. All Things XRP also links these developments to the broader outlook for XRP. The post suggests that this shift in regulatory tone could bring the long-awaited clarity that XRP holders and institutional market participants have been anticipating. A more transparent and predictable regulatory environment, they argue, could encourage broader adoption and usage of digital assets for cross-border transactions, including XRP. The emphasis on regulatory transformation, rather than punitive enforcement, is seen as a potentially advantageous development for digital assets that have long faced uncertainty in the U.S. market. The commentator identifies this moment as a possible turning point for both the industry at large and XRP's future role within it. Settlement may mark beginning of structural change. The commentator concludes by stating that the $50 million financial penalty is ultimately secondary to what they interpret as the SEC's acknowledgement of the need for institutional change. The post ends with a forward-looking question: how will this regulatory reform shape the future of the crypto sector? And is XRP now positioned to benefit from a clearer and more supportive framework in the United States?